Hello, thank you for coming back to my channel. Today I'm going to go through the less is more fact sheet here. I will email it to you or send it to you any way I can. Also, I'll put a link below where you can email Kathy Hochul to get this bill fully in effect before March of 22. So I'm going to read some stuff off of this sheet and also react to it as well. So what does the Less is More Act do? Well, this fact sheet provides a short outline of the transformative parole reform bill. The Less is More Community Supervision Revocation Reform Act, known as the Benjamin or Forrest Bill. This legislation was developed by people on parole, people currently incarcerated, family members, and the community, advocacy, and legal groups in the Less is More New York campaign. You can also search this by going to www.lessismorenewyork.org. The bill was signed into law on September 17th, 2021, set to take effect in March 2022, but the provision in the law allows the bill to be fully enacted immediately. We are calling on Governor to fully implement Less is More now and begin advancing solutions that promote public safety and support individuals in their reentry process. So 1, this creates incentives. 2, bolsters due process. 3, ends automatic detention, eliminates incarceration for certain technical violations. 4, and 5, caps periods of incarceration. Now, I'll also put below for more information or to get involved, please contact. You can look below and I'll add that there for you. So number 1, this creates incentives. Earn time credits, the aka 30 for 30. Under the Less is More, most people on parole can earn 30 days of time credit for every 30 days in the community that they adhere to parole rules. For example, someone who has a 4-year term of parole will complete supervision after 2 years if they have no sustained violations during that period. If the person on parole is found to have violated a condition of parole, they will not yet earn the 30-day reduction in parole time and may face additional sanctions depending on the violation. People on parole, when the law takes effect, will be awarded a maximum of 2 years of retroactive credits. This provision does not apply to people on life parole, but existing discretionary mechanisms for early termination of parole remain unchanged and available to all eligible people on parole, including those on life parole. 2, bolsters due process. Establishes the right of counsel at all parole revocation hearings and raises the standard of proof at every stage of the violation process. B, speedy hearings. For people detained, requires hearings to be completed within 35 days. For people at liberty in the community, hearings must be completed within 55 days rather than 105 days. C, requires that all hearings be conducted in the community rather than inside jails, increasing transparency and access for witnesses, loved ones, and the general public. Number 3, ends automatic detention based on the mere accusation of a violation. A, people accused of technical violations, a non-criminal rule violations, will receive written notice of violation, like an appearance ticket, with a hearing date and a location, and will remain at liberty in the community to attend their hearings. Allegations of certain non-criminal technical violations against people on parole for sex offenses will be treated as non-technical violations if parole can demonstrate the violation is related to preventing another sex offense. B. People accused of non-technical violations, new crimes, will receive recognizance hearings before a judge within 24 hours, or as soon as the court is open, to determine whether they will be detained while the revocation hearings are conducted. The recognizance hearings will most often be conducted in the same time as the arraignment on the new charges. At the end of the hearing, the court will release the person on their own recognizance, or ROR, subject to existing parole conditions until the parole revocation hearings, unless this will not reasonably ensure the person's appearance at the hearings. The law still applies to the new charges. Number 4. Eliminates incarceration for certain technical violations. A. The following technical violations, non-criminal violations, will no longer be eligible for incarceration, like missing curfew, alcohol or drug use, unless on parole for DWI, failing to notify PO of changes of employment or program status, failing to pay surcharges and fees, obtaining a driver's license or driving with a valid license unless explicitly prohibited by the conviction, failing to notify PO of conduct with law enforcement unless intending to hide illegal behavior, and failing to obey any special conditions unless the failure cannot be addressed in the community at all reasonable community-based methods to adjust the behavior have been exhausted. If a person is on parole for a sex offense and parole can demonstrate that the violation of this nature is related to preventing another sex offense, the violation will be treated as a non-technical violation and will be subject to incarceration. B. Instead of incarceration, if a person is found to have committed one of these violations, 30 days of earned time credits will be withheld, and parole can impose additional conditions in response to the violation. No parole condition or violations will be permitted for illegal activities related to marijuana or for fraternizing with other people with criminal records. 5. It caps periods of incarceration. A. For other more serious technical violations, incarceration may still be imposed, but there are strict limits to the length of incarceration, as follows: no incarceration for the first 2 sustained violations, except absconding, which is eligible for incarceration up to 7 days on the first offense, up to 7 days of incarceration for the third offense or third violation, up to 15 days for the fourth, and up to 30 days for any subsequent violation. B. There are no caps on parole punishment of non-technical violation, new crimes, and certain technical violations committed by people on parole for sex offenses, leaving the current law intact. However, a person sanctioned for non-technical violations related to a new criminal activity will now have the right to do the novel judicial review, essentially an appeal of the sustained violation and the punishment imposed. Okay, what I didn't tell you in that big mouthful is that there's 35,000 people on active parole right now. There's another 5,000 people incarcerated for these non-criminal technical parole violations. Also, the state of New York spends almost or over $680 million annually for parole technical non-criminal violations. Also, I couldn't even in a lifetime tell you the negative consequences for the community that has had already. Not only has it discouraged people from doing better, getting the right treatment that they need, it also separates families and does great harm to most people. In fact, studies have come out with telling that incarceration actually causes stuff pretty similar to PTSD. And I believe they call it post-traumatic incarceration syndrome. And basically what it is people have a real hard time adjusting to the outside. This bill is super important, not only for the people on parole, that should be almost self-evident, but also to the communities all over the place. These are people that they incarcerate at a level that no other state does. I didn't mention that either. New York violates more people than any other state for technical violations. As always, thanks for coming back to my channel. If you can, subscribe and hit the little like button. Also, if you hit the little bell below, you'll get all updated content that I put out. I try to put something out at least 2 to 3 times a week if I can. If you comment below, I'll get right back to you. Thank you.